The time is 5:31 p.m. And we are going to start with a formal administering of the constitutional oath of office by our distinguished guest, Judge Hartunian, who I believe is a Redford Union alum. Oh.
In spirit.
Okay, so, okay, we'll accept that, as long as you, oh, that's right, that's right. I just thought you were too, I assume. As long as you bleed Panther, blue and gold, we're okay. Judge, how would you like it? Do you want us all at one time, or do you want to do us individually?
How many?
3?
We can do it individually if you like.
Okay, well, my name is first, so I'll come first.
So, I know we had a piece of paper. Yeah, here you go. Perfect. Yes, you're the one that's. Thank you. All right.
I think everybody here knows me, so. This is like my 4th time. Okay, I'm gonna come out now, and then we'll do
Which way do you want me to aim? I'm sorry I have my back to you. I apologize.
No worries.
She's next anyway.
she's next.
Oh, there you go. All right, and, so, we'll do this the official way. All right, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of a member of the Board of Education
of a member of the Board of Education
for Redford Union,
for Redford Union
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
I don't care.
So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of member of the Board of Education for Redford Union,
of members
or of the Redford Union Board of
of
Education,
the Redford
It's a long time.
Union Board of Education
according to the best of my abilities.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Yay! Okay, Megan Johnson, our newest board member.
Megan Johnson. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of a member of the Board of Education
the duties of
See, that gets all of us.
the duties of a member
for the Board of
for the Board
Education,
of Education,
and for, this is Redford Union,
Redford Union,
right? And according to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Yay, Megan. Thank you, thank you.
And thank you for letting me participate, and it's always an honor. I've done this now a few times, and I really am pleased to do it, and I'm really glad that you invited me, and I'm so glad we now have new board members, and you guys are ready to go. And I'm just gonna stand here and do this, and then if it's okay with everybody, I'm gonna leave, if that's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
But I'm gonna sign up the paperwork before I do that.
We appreciate you coming out on this cold night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So I will just read the rest of this. So that was myself, Mrs. Martin, and Megan, do you prefer Ms., Mrs., or Miss? Mrs. Johnson. We'll say Mrs. Johnson. I like to respect, the. That was an official swearing in. We were actually sworn in by our business office assistant, who is a notary, Terry Ariola, after the election results were certified, but this is a nice little formal kind of thing. Yeah, so I'm going to do a roll call, and then we will take a couple-minute recess to get cake. Roll call, Mr. Bailey. It comes after. Mrs. Dean. Mrs. Johnson.
Here.
Mrs. Martin. Here. Ms. Miller. Mr. Osowski.
Here.
The chair is here. Ms. Jeswick.
Here.
Okay. Yeah, normally I think it comes before. Anyway. All right, so we will take a 5-minute recess to get some cake, and then we will come back and do our pledge and get down to the business of the work of the board.
Bye, honey.
Wait, Rufus. Wait.
Sit down next to it.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's a mandatory, you have to activate it.
Yes, student, at least one student through another student anyway, and that's how it goes. I have sources. No, the sources are not in this room.
I mean, I told either our meeting board went into it or it can't get shoved in.
I can't get thrown up against it and it broke. That's not acceptable. And for them to claim that they don't know what happened, that's not acceptable either.
I'm in total detail with circumstances.
And to be honest with you, whether or not they end up paying for it or not, somebody should get a bill for it.
No, I agree. And I don't know how that happens with the college.
And then I'm actually told that nothing happened.
I'm gonna text them right now, just so they're see if they got it.
Just sign right here. Okay. Sign your name, and then fill this part out right here too.
What? Why? What? I have no idea what you're talking about. No idea what you're talking about. I looked at the video footage.
Oh, no, okay. No.
There's donuts. There's some with bite marks on them.
No, yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Wayne, and then Redford Union Schools.
Oh, I guess two. You're gonna have to. Well, they already did except all the other because that has to be Thank you for doing that. That was nice. Thank you. I gotta.
Oh, the
Yeah.
excitement's already over. It's a long meeting.
It's gonna spoil what I'm trying to do health-wise.
Look, he's going to tempt you. Look.
Thank you. Ooh, those are nice donuts. Okay. All right. I'll take a glaze. Thank you.
Mr. Osowski's a bad influence. Oh my gosh, this cake is really good.
I can't. I'm good. I got some candy in there.
I know, that's why I
Those
said.
are good. I really like the frosted half off.
No, I'm gonna do that.
Okay. We will come back to order. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll make sure everybody has cake out of their mouth. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh my goodness, every time I sit in this chair, I'm rolling backwards.
All right. All right, so we will move on. We're a squirrely bunch tonight. Okay, moving on to President's remarks. I do have a couple of quick things. I will say, I think I said this in December, I'll say it again. Thank you, Judge. It is my honor to have been sworn into my third elected term, starting my 14th year, I think, in this district. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the years that I have been able to be here. I'm grateful for the people who sit at this table with me and those who used to sit at this table. And I'm thankful for our wonderful, wonderful administration, our staff, from the top to all the way down to the people who clean the buildings, for their love and their dedication for our kids. Having said that, there's a couple things I just want to make you aware of. MASB has some winter CBA classes coming up. That is a virtual option. You should have gotten a flyer either at home or here. It's also probably in your board email, if you can get into your board email. Good luck. I'm gonna just tell you, you shouldn't take 3 calls. Like, crazy. Once you talk to All Covered, they're really helpful. But if you get locked out, call the help desk. They will help you. I will give you the number. You know what? I will give you the number right now. Hold on.
I'm locked out again.
I got locked out a second time too. Hold on. Let me go into my text messages. I don't know. Like I was.
I can just tell you.
Okay.
313-681-5676.
Okay. There you go. So if you're interested in doing MASB training, please reach out to Jackie. She's amazing about getting us registered for stuff like that. You are able to register yourself and click the option for the district to be billed. If that's your thing, then go ahead and do that. I know that some of us who went to Lansing have taken quite a few, so I'll just kind of talk. There are different MASB certifications out there, and I believe the first one is completion of all the 100 level classes. Once you complete that, you get honored at the awards dinner, and then it goes up from there. So kind of start work. I think that's a good thing to strive for, is to be MASB certified. If you want to serve in any upper level capacity at MASB, you need to be at least 100 certified. So that's about that. Wayne County Association of School Board meeting. There will be a general meeting in February. We don't have the date on that yet. The executive board is meeting this week to set that up and to determine what CBA classes we will offer at the county level. We do 2. We'll probably do 1 in April and then another one in September. That's a part of our agreement with MASB, is that we will offer 2, so more to come on that. I am going to ask for a motion to amend this agenda to include 2 action items with regard to some items that we're going to discuss regarding upcoming future workshop talks. So if you go to your down the agenda a little bit, you'll see future workshop topics. One of them is going to be timing of the board packets and then chronic absenteeism. I will word those motions after we have discussion so that I know how to word them, but, so just two motions, there'll be numbers 4 and 5. And I'll say that I encourage you, I was approached by a board member who had some concerns about these things. Please, like, if there's something you want on this agenda, please reach out to me, because I will do my best to get it on the agenda. And sometimes it may not look like the way you brought it to me originally, but I'll work with you to get it done the way that you feel it needs to be done. So, having said that, can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the January 13th, 2025 regular meeting as amended? Moved by Mr. Osowski. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Miller. Is there any discussion?
Discussion.
Mrs. Martin?
So towards this, we're meaning that we're going to possibly amend it later on?
Nope, we're going to amend it to include those items. I just don't have the exact wording of them because I want to base it on the discussion that we're going to have earlier. So like I drafted one that says a motion that the board packets be received by, and then I put a blank in there because I want us to have that discussion before I word the actual wording of the motion.
Of just the understanding.
Yeah, I was trying to like explain it, but I didn't want to draft a motion without all the information. Okay. Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Call to the audience, public participation regarding agenda items. All right. I love it when y'all are. All right, presentations. The first one is our fall count. Kim Crenshaw, Executive Director of Curriculum and Technology, and other administrative team members. And others.
Good evening, everyone. Before I start, I realized over the weekend that I sit down at the end of the table and I reset passwords for you, but none of you really know me. So, I want to start with an introduction. So, I am Kim Crenshaw, the Executive Director of Curriculum and Technology. I am a graduate of the class of 1992 from Redford Union Schools. My dad was a graduate of the class of 1950. I have 4 older brothers, all graduates of Redford Union. I started teaching here in 2000. Actually, my higher date just passed, January 10th of 2000. Thank you.
25 years, yeah.
So I say all of this to say that Redford Union means a lot to me. I'm very invested in Redford Union. And when we come to present things like what we're doing tonight, obviously, we know we have improvements to make. And I can tell you that working with this group of administrators here, we are all working very hard to make some amazing improvements that are going to be coming in the coming years. We've gone through a lot of administrators over the last few years. Quite a few. We've had a little bit of turnover. Gone through turnover of staff. And after the last few years of working with these individuals, I can tell you that this is a caring group who wants nothing more than the best for Redford Union Schools.
That's right.
Okay, so if you ever need anything from me, you know where I'm at. I'm at that end of the table. I'm sitting down there, not making any comments.
She's Vanna. She's
But,
like making the things click and.
But yeah, so also history of Redford Union, feel free to ask me. I was a mascot for the Redford Union cheerleading squad, starting at age 3 until age 8. That was me on the sidelines, in case anyone saw me there. My main name is Lowney, and my dad's name is Elijah Keeler, so.
Uh-huh.
All right. Sorry, I'm running multiple shows. So, our administrative team is here. We're gonna run through everything. A lot of the slides are gonna look familiar because, I don't wanna change things up because I want you to be able to see it all year over year over year, right? So, here we go. And I apologize if this has taken us a minute to get to this presentation. The last 2 months have been a little challenging with the new campus building and all of those things. So, NWEA, we get it 3 times a year, fall, winter, spring. We've been giving it for many years now. I think I have records dating back to like 13, 14 maybe on my computer. probably before that though. These are some just specific things to the test. All of these are embedded in the test, so kids have access to a highlighter. A highlighter, they can use a notepad, they can hear things if they need to, if there's a part where they need something read to them, they can zoom in, all of those things. Some of the questions will allow for a calculator, some don't, and that's on purpose. The other things that are not embedded, and some of these things would require a written accommodation through an IEP, taking extra breaks, using extra ear muffler things, some of those things, color contrasting, and people reading the test to them, because obviously we really want our kids to show us what they can do. So those are non-embedded test-taking tools. I didn't even tell you that I was at Day Treatment, was my home. Originally, I taught special ed for 18 years before I did this, by the way. Sorry. I want to make sure that I tell you where my background comes from. It's an important part of it. So here we go. So this is district-wide. This isn't broken down by schools. I have broken down by schools later on. So this is our language arts from fall of 23 to fall of 24. The yellow triangle thingy, what is that, a diamond shape, is where we expect the kids to get to. The blue line is where our kids got. So you can see we have a lot of successes here. This is our ELA scores by district. A couple of them have a little work to do. But for the most part, all of our students, all of our grade levels, have reached that projected growth from last year to this year. So I think that's a celebration for us.
Yes, yes.
All right. This is our math scores. Now, I'm not going to say our math scores is great. Our lower levels, we have a little bit of work to do.
But we have
We bought a new reading series last year. We're starting that this year. Oops. Our focus for this coming year is to look at our math program and see what we need to do. Do we upgrade what we already own? Do we, because math doesn't really change a ton from year to year. But, right? We
Right.
still know 2 plus 2 is
2
4.
right.
But the way it's presented maybe changes a little bit. We're not trying to get into crazy things that nobody else in the world knows, like those crazy diagonal things.
Only math teachers know those things.
Yeah, some of those things no. So we know that we need to look at our math program for our elementary programs, obviously. You can see that from our scores. So that is on our list. Chris Martin and I will be working over the next few months to start that ball rolling. We'll get teachers together. Teachers have to give us that input, tell us what they think they need, all of those good things like we do. So this is the student achievement norms. So
This is one that always
this is
confuses me.
telling you what a student should be achieving on the test at each grade level. We have the fall, we have the winter, and we have the spring. So you're looking more at that mean number. And if you look back at our charts here, if you look at this, this is our mean RIT score here for this fall. So you can look at those numbers and go back to this chart. That's why I gave you handouts, so you can do this, in your own free time, because it's really free. But you can see where the scores kind of match up. So if we had a 6th grader who maybe scored a 199.55 in the fall, we know that that student would be functioning as a 4th grader in the fall. So are they on grade level?
No.
Are they proficient? Probably not. So those are the kids that we're looking at for our interventions, which we'll look at later, some of the interventions we're including. So those are all things, and our families all get a copy of each student's NWA report. Teachers go over it with them, they explain the numbers, and then that's kind of where our MTSS team comes in. If they're below grade level, the MTSS team is swooping in to set up some interventions and get the student moving along. So you can go back and kind of see where those all correlate, but I also have it a little bit later. You can see this. So that shows the average RIT score. Tells you how we read it. Sorry, I skipped too fast. Standard deviation shows that the student is still kind of like a couple of points below grade level, so you would still consider them in, or they're a couple points above. So there's kind of that little range of this is still acceptable for that grade level. Obviously, if there's a 7th grader and they're still in 2nd grade, that's probably not acceptable. But we know what that means. So when we read this, we say that the student is functioning as a typical third grader, a typical fourth grader in the fall of whatever year. So that's what my last one there says. Well, it's not too bad, I promise.
Smack it on the table.
Oh, sorry. Hold on, I gotta wait an hour. He wants to restart. Okay.
It's like, hello.
Okay. So here's our year by year. There. So the following slides is giving you a little data to show you the fall testing sessions for each school year. I used to add a lot more. I kind of cut it down because we're getting back to those COVID days. And really nothing we had before COVID compares to what our kids are doing right now, right? I mean, we know we had a slide during COVID and you can see it in the data. We know that in the fall of 2019, we gave the test. The kids did the test at home in the winter. So we know that there's probably not accurate data to show what our growth looked like in that spring, in the spring test. So we did nothing in the winter that year because we weren't here. And we gave the test in the spring. Students were staying home with their families. Whether they did the test or not, hard to say. So, so we don't really look at that one with a lot of accurate data. We look at it to believe that it's really truly accurate. So you can see on our graph here, this last line here is where our students should be in each grade level. You can see we're not there in any grade level. We're kind of close, but we're still not quite there. And that's what we have to fix. You can see where we had kind of that dip in the 2019, 20, 20, and 21 year. And you can kind of see some of the grade levels are starting to make their way back up. Math, I think, shows it even more so. That as more of the kids are in school, and this is just the numbers that correlate with this graph. So you can see the more the kids are in school, obviously things are starting to improve. They're starting to get back in the swing of things. But one thing that I will say, as a parent of a 5th grader at this time who was a kindergartner when things shut down, when I look at our 5th grade scores, it makes me feel a lot better because I know what my 5th grader is doing right now, and he didn't really miss a lot of school, but he still struggles with some of that sitting in class all the time, and so we have that too. That we're not only battling the learning deficits, we're also battling, hey, we sat at home for a year and a half and we did nothing, and we could join class if we wanted, and so getting kids back in, and I think we're finally getting to that point. And I'm sure building administrators could probably speak to this more, to see the behaviors are kind of starting to decrease a little bit the further away from COVID we get. So this is the same, those are the numbers that correlate back to our math scores. And those are all our fall scores. I keep pointing this way like it's over here. Okay, so does anyone have any questions up till there? Mine didn't, but some did. 'Cause I tried
Yeah,
to, like,
mine-
so some
mine-
are some
mine
of them
does.
short? I
Yeah.
don't know why. Sorry, we'll send you out the full thing.
Yeah. So,
I printed them and then I went to buy cake for some people, so.
right,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Cake, listen, I'm all for cake, and I can read that email because then I can zoom in.
Send that out
Just
for
saying.
everybody. Mike has the full thing. I don't know why Mike's got a full one, but,
Mike's special.
yeah, yours I think was thick, wasn't it? No. Oh, it was thick, okay.
It's no big deal.
It actually saves
it's
a lot
actually-
of trees. Though.
Yeah, it did
And
save a
it-
lot of trees, so we'll send it to you electronically, but,
I personally think it's easier to read on my computer screen because I can zoom in. Yeah, because my old lady eyes can't see these.
okay, so, I'm sorry. You had a-
So I have two questions.
Okay.
We talked about math. Are we still using big ideas?
Big
in
ideas and math expressions.
Yeah, so it's probably, yeah.
Math
It's
expressions is our elementary and big ideas is our.
probably time because I think we've been using that for a while. And then you talked about the scores are reviewed with the parents. And I know we talk a lot about the kids who aren't achieving and what are we putting as much care in discussion with our parents of the kids who are achieving or overachieving, to put things in place for them so that they don't get bored. And I think sometimes we talk a lot about the kids who aren't there yet, but we don't talk a lot about the kids who are there or over there, and how we keep them engaged and interested in learning when they're a grade level above somebody, or, when, so, or,
And I'm gonna say this like this, and I mean no disrespect to any people in our district, any students, any staff, but that group of students is probably a lot smaller than our other.
agreed, but they're just
Right.
as important.
But I'm not saying that we're doing things. I mean, buildings have, we have pull-out groups for individualized group with elementary buildings. High school has secondary, has advanced classes, has, all of those things. So we are looking at those, and we would like that group to get larger. So we have
Absolutely.
a bigger problem with that, and we have to offer more advanced things. I mean, obviously, that's where we wanna get to. We can do it, we know we can. We're working on it.
Question?
Yeah.
So, to almost to just jump on her question a little bit, like when, have you tested, have you saw what those students are doing well, the ones that's doing well, and what they're doing, what their families possibly are doing to help them to maybe, encourage some of that activity?
That's a good idea.
Yes, and I think our other problem that we know we have in the district is that our parent engagement is not really
Super
all
high.
that we wished it could be. We can go out and talk to parents that show up to conferences, but if they don't come, we can't have those conversations. But yes, I think our building administrators and our teachers are all pretty well versed at talking to the parents and saying, what can we do at home? And I know we send home things all the time, tips and tricks and all of those things. So, again, I truly believe this is a process that we are working towards. We are moving along, and we're hopeful that within the next 2 years is my hope, because I'm getting old and my years are getting close. So, I want to leave Redford Union in a better place than what I found it in this position. Not that it was, we've been up and down, all the years I've been here. We've been in these highs, we've been in the valleys. This is a pretty big valley we're coming out of, though. So it's a lot of work. We still have families who, we were talking about it today with our absenteeism issue. We still have families who, if they're sick, they're not coming in for days on end. And I don't blame them. I will honestly admit my child is probably chronically absent because he has ear infections like every other week. He has whatever other things, so right now our focus is get the kids in school every day, get the kids to stay in school, because when they're in school, they can learn. When they're not in school with us, there's not much we can do to them. We can send stuff home, we can tell parents to do this, but if they're not sitting right in front of us, unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at.
I have one question. Kindergarten is the furthest away from the goal. With that, are they on the computers as well?
Well, remember, kindergarten, this is the fall,
Yeah.
so they just started with us. Like, we take this test in September. So we're like, hey,
crazy.
kindergartners, come on in, sit down, here's a computer, let's take this test real fast. So we wouldn't expect that goal we wouldn't expect it to be really
Okay,
close.
yeah.
So
because I'm
we
like,
don't fret too much about the
kindergarten
kindergartners yet
computer.
on that fall.
It's like
You
the
know.
first 4 or 5 weeks of school.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
on the computer.
Yeah, and that in itself is a lot of work, just
Yeah.
learning the click.
Yeah, because they're
And
5.
not speed clicking. 'Cause
Yeah.
weird enough, some of our kids get test fatigue and then they just start clicking.
For a lot of our kindergarten, that's their first
Yeah.
Ever test.
ever test, ever sitting in a classroom.
It's their first school
Yeah.
experience. It is that's a beautiful thing to watch kindergarten when they get to be for the first time.
They can do it though. They've shown us that they can do it.
They persevere.
So this is kind of by cohort. So you can see, we start our kindergartners, first grade, they're pretty low. You can see all of our classes are making progress. Every grade level, we're not going like the opposite way with our bar graph here. We're not dipping anywhere. So this is ELA scores by cohort, so our second grade, and I didn't even put kindergarten or first grade on here because like it's one score, really doesn't make sense. So starting with the second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, and just looking at the trajectory to see that we're making growth, we're making progress, but we're not at proficiency. So that's our goal now, is proficiency. We're happy we're making growth, but that's not what we need to be at. We need to be at proficiency. So this is our 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. And you'll also see as you get closer to the higher grades, they kind of plateau at the end, obviously, because, some kids can keep learning, but once you get to that end point.
Listen, unless you learn how to factor a polynomial,
Yeah.
you're not fine.
You see right there, that part right
Oh,
there,
sorry.
we're talking about once they get to a point. That, are you saying that no learning is possible?
No, I
Or are you
think that
saying-
and I know that they're not at the highest level on the NWEA test.
Mhm.
But I also know that in our upper grades, we're giving them, not in the fall so much, but in the spring, we're giving them SAT, PSAT,
Over testing.
M-STEP tests for some of the grade levels. We're giving them NWEA, and by the time we get to that point, our students are like, yeah. And in the fall,
Okay.
we're just coming back, and they're like, hey, we're back in school, ways. And I'm not saying that every kid is not putting a lot of effort into the test, but, I would say if you asked any of the building administrators, I've administered the test millions of times, I feel like, to lots of kids. And it is a challenge to get them to stay focused. But we do know that we still have some work to do with those upper grades because they're not, they could top out. That would be great.
It'd be a beautiful thing.
But this is still an average. So even if every kid's not gonna hit that top point, you're still gonna have that, those few kids that are not gonna reach that highest level. So it's gonna bring your average down. So we do have outliers. Obviously, in every grade level, you have an outlier. But this is just kind of our average score year over year over year. So this is our math scores. And again, math in our elementary program, we can see we need a little bit of work. Our secondary campus, our secondary students seem to be having a little bit more success with big ideas. Whether or not they are, I don't, if that's what's doing it or if it's just math is changing in the, what they're offering or how they're taking the class, I'm not sure, but our math scores are definitely a little bit better in some cases than others. So we have some building updates. So one thing that I know since I've been in central office is that prior to COVID, we didn't do a lot of data discussions. I was interim director of instructional technology, then I was director of instructional technology. And not that I was in every meeting, but I did attend a lot of meetings. I don't feel like the district was necessarily like, hey, look at this data, let's sit down and pull it apart and, look at how great we're doing here. That is something that, as a district, we have improved on tremendously. This year specifically, we have devoted a lot of time to data discussions because we want our teachers to see what the data is. We want them to own what the data is, and we want them to see that we need to make improvements. Like, period. End of discussion, we need to make improvements. So our district team met last month to work on our My Kit plan. Part of the meeting, we had things around the room, and we kind of talked about our data things. And I'll get to those in a second, but part of the meeting was devoted to the data discussion, and then each building has their own process for discussing their data in their buildings as well. So when we met, we put these around the room. We kind of just wrote down what were some wonderings that your building had as you went through your discussions. What are some trends that you saw? What kind of thoughts and questions do you have? Where are those blockades at? What's stopping us from getting to where we need to go? And what did we see in the data? So when you guys get this part of the presentation, you'll have access to all of these. So this is kind of some of them were duplicates, so I didn't really write all of them out, but these were some of the things that the group came up with. I was happy to see that our blockades one was pretty short. They were more, pretty much all of them had to do with student attendance. Because if kids aren't here, they can't learn. And a blockade that we had in the past, and that one I think had a little bit more words to it, but the time to dig in the data to plan for improvements was not really there. But we're really making a space for that this year so that people can look at that data, analyze it well, and find out where our holes and our gaps are. I mean, pretty much in every single one of these, you'd probably see that attendance is a common theme. We know that it's a problem. We're working on our new attendance policy. We're working with Attendance Matters. Jessica and I need to get with them a little bit more this next semester here and make sure that we're pulling them into our discussion. We'll have them come in and have some more discussions with our district team. We have access to them through a grant that we received from the county. So these were just some of the things that our administrative team brought back to the discussion when we talked about district data. So now I'm going to show you a little bit of building data because I want our buildings to be proud of their data. This is Beach Elementary. You can see where the diamond is and where their students achieved in language arts. And then we have our math.
Okay.
So again, we're looking at our math program. Ms. Nichol, your slide is next. So quick, okay. Oh, you can't add more.
I was just looking at it.
It's
47,
printed.
ma'am, my eyes are open.
So I asked each of the administrators to write what they're doing with their buildings to do their data dives or data discussions. And so this is, I'm gonna have each of them speak to those because I don't go to every building to these things. I've gone to a couple, but I'd rather they speak to them.
Perfect. So we've been really focusing on data for the last couple of years. This year we dug a little bit deeper into it, and had a full building-wide rolling meeting. So like majority of the day where we had almost, I would say 90% of my staff were able to roll into the media center and spend 40 minutes at a time looking at specific pieces of data that we had pulled out, we had started to look through. It was led by myself and our building continuous improvement team. We also had representation from Wayne Reset come and support us. Chris was there, Kim were there, and so we had a full house. It was pretty great. We looked at building-wide data over a 3-year time span, and while we know that we have 1 year of data with us being K-6, we knew that the majority of our kids were produced anyway, so we were good to look out 3 years. We looked at reading math for MSTEP. We looked at reading math for NWEA. We looked at our attendance data. We looked at some behavioral pieces too. And the reason that we looked at it over a 3-year trend is because we know that things take time to shift and change, and that if you implement something, it takes about 3 years for it to really show if things are working or not. And the other reason is because our teachers needed to see that it's not just a one and done piece, right? Like, hey, we maybe had some really good scores and some growth now, but what does that look like in the big picture? And so we had the opportunity to do that. We had secretaries in, I had everybody, I think, with the custodial staff was able to come in and be part of these meetings because all of those people at some point throughout our day touch these kids academically, socially, emotionally, behaviorally. And they needed to see what our truth was so that they could understand why the urgency behind our instruction needed to be there. And so we looked at also, like, hey, here's, now that we've looked at this data, what is it showing us? What is it saying? And then why, right? So we took a look at some of the root causes, identified that there was some disconnects for certain things, and then really tried to take a look at how we could remove some barriers and identify how to make connections for staff, for families, and for students. Since then, we've used professional learning committees with our efforts twice a month and staff meetings to really hone in on our specific areas in ELA and math that we identified. We said, hey, here are some trends across the board. These are some really important and intentional concepts that are assessed on MSTEP, and we are also struggling on NWA with them, so let's hit those so we can see if we can make an impact. And we did it across grade levels. So when we planned for our workshop, to either close some gaps or, to your question earlier, extend on learning that they already have if they're at grade level, we were able to align that across the building. So everybody spent time in every grade level working specifically on two ELA concepts that we identified were building-wide concerns. They planned for 6 weeks of intervention or extension instruction to use during workshop time. And then we did the same thing for math at a following one. We are getting ready to do round 2 of that starting this week. And so because that 6 weeks is almost up, so we want to plan ahead for the next one, taking a look at what are the next concepts that we're going to cover, because we want to make sure that we're continuing to hit those key standards so that we can see some more growth on those assessments. And we give the teachers time, so we don't just say we'll do it, but we modeled it for them. We provided them the resources that they need, and then we gave them the time to do that so that they weren't just kind of left dangling, if you will, right? And then throughout all of this, we were working with each of our teachers to determine if students needed additional tiered support. So MTSS has really been intentional with that. We believe that that intentional focus on the data has helped our teachers to really understand that, hey, I should be utilizing MTSS more because that's where we're going, right? So last year we utilized MTSS, and I thought it was pretty good for how we rolled it out. But last year we only had 17 students submitted by 6 different teachers for the whole year. This year so far, we have 39 students submitted to MTSS, and 14 different teachers have submitted them.
Wow.
We also have an additional 16 students who have been submitted for our mental health clinicians for tier 3 support, which is in addition to that 39. Last year we didn't have this, so that's a new piece of the puzzle for us. For me, this data shows that our teachers are understanding more that this data piece is really driving the need of our students, and they understand that the processes and the procedures to get growth need to be followed so that we can all be on the same page. It's been really impactful.
So 2 things I just want to add to Melissa's. One thing I did not mention with our math focus is that we have been working with a company called Strategic Intervention Solutions. The K1 building was working with them for a few years. We switched everybody around, and so then we're like, oh no, everybody's everywhere now. So over the last 2 years, we've been trying to train new teachers to use some of these, and it's really strategies that teachers can use to reinforce math skills. So we're working on mini binders, so each teacher has access to a mini binder that they can go to. They're working with them, looking through their math expressions book to say, this would go well with this lesson, this would go well with this lesson. So it's really been a work in progress. We asked this year to extend it on up through 4th, 5th, 6th grade. So they've been working with some of those teachers as well to give them some more tools for their pocket to pull out when they need them. So that's, it's a work in progress though still. So we haven't made it all the way through all of them. They come in and coach our teachers, like, I feel like every couple of months or every couple of weeks, it seems like some days with the emails. But they come in and work with our teachers. And for our MTSS thing, as Melissa said, I think every building would probably say that they didn't have very many last year. When I brought Chris Norton on to be my coordinator teaching learning, we had a 3-page MTSS document that we found connected to something in Gems Mars that we downloaded. We're like, oh look, someone wrote this probably as a requirement for a grant at some point in time. So since Chris has started, I think our document is up to about 100 some pages. We have processes for everything, we have steps for everything. It grows, I feel like daily. He's like, I added more today.
That's Chris for you. He's a data guy.
But I think everything that anyone needed to know would be in that binder. And it's at digital access, everyone has access to it. So I think as last year we were like, hey, this is it, we're gonna start using it. And this year they've made it through a year of using it, and now they're like, oh, this might actually work. Wow. So I give huge thanks to Chris for putting all of that together, because he works on that daily. I'm not kidding you.
Quick question
Yeah.
before we go to the MTS. I just wanted to know, since we have like 39 students there that's been submitted, how is it like, do you have the support?
Yeah. So we have an MTSS team that meets twice a month.
Sorry, thank you.
We have an MTSS team that meets twice a month. Staff have to submit them. We go through the data that they submit, and then we take a look at it, schedule meetings. Our meetings originally were scheduled for an hour twice a month. They are 2.5 hours at this moment. We're at 2.5 hours twice a month right now. And it's an all hands on deck. So we partner with every single person in that building to provide additional support time. So our specialist teachers, so art, music, PE, STEAM, they all have open extra blocks in their day, and they push in and support in those classrooms for reading and math. They will work with small groups to do intervention or extension, or they will help the students access the work that's being done in the classroom. So maybe they have a student who's part of MTSS who has a hard time getting started with things. Maybe they'll preview that lesson with them during morning workshop time, so that they can assist them when the teacher is instructing them during that class. So we have push-in support almost every day with our specialist teachers in the K-1-2 classrooms. And I think one person gets to go up to 3rd grade. But yes, while we would love to say I would like an extra person in every classroom, we know that's not feasible, so we work within the confines of who we have, and schedule every minute of everyone's day.
And we also have academic teaching assistants in multiple classrooms throughout the district. We have a math coach, we have a math COSA, which is a coach on special assignment from Wayne Risa. We have a reading COSA. So Risa has a program where they're basically reimbursing us to have these people come and be extra hands. Our math COSA is upper grades, our ELA, our literacy, whatever one she's. Our reading COSA is K-1, 2, 3.
Yep, K-3
So-
reading, K-5.
So we have those other resources as well in the elementary buildings. Okay, in the interest of time, we're gonna keep moving forward here.
Yeah.
So,
No, you don't get to ask questions. Oh, wait. Sorry.
On behalf of one of my administrators, could we please jump to the high school?
oh, you had to leave, I'm sorry, that's right. You did tell me that, but it's not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have just raised your hand, Mike. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be that super depth. I think a lot of what's going on, it's blanket across all of the schools, across the district, it's a district initiative. Now I'll get to this. This is the same pretty much as what they're doing in junior high. So Katie and Chris could have been here tonight. Their slides can look very similar. Is identifying obviously weaknesses, some of those growth spots, but what are we gonna do about it? Like Kim said, we began our PLCs. We've been doing it twice a month at the high school and junior high. It's an hour each, and that is all data driven, either at a building level or at a district level. And that's all the teachers, anybody that academically has a hand in the student's success, polling, assessing, addressing the MWA scores, areas of needed growth are identified and then built into lesson plans to address targeted deficiencies. I'm just gonna make a quick side note, and Ms. Jeswick, to agree or disagree, she can do whatever she wants. It is very difficult to assess achievement on MWA scores in a lot of high schools, so I'm just going to tell you, we talk about it all the time, our kids are tested to death. And I will tell you right now, whether it's the fall, winter, or spring, it's the same with the SAT scores, because now a lot of colleges aren't looking at SAT scores. Our kids are just trying to get it done as quick as possible. They want to be done with it, they're filling in bubbles, and then we're supposed to assess where there are areas of growth or need, or areas of need are. It's extremely difficult.
But I want you to look at the math scores at high school.
Look at that.
I just want to-
Yes. That's a huge win.
But that's where you take grades in classroom.
Yeah, so we have to look at what's going on in the classroom, not necessarily off that test score. So, district initiative, the MTSS, we do monthly MTSS meetings, which is a multi-tiered system of supports, not only for social emotional learning, but also for academic support, which is more initiatives coming in for additional supports like tutoring. During Panther time, we do it 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, refugee tutoring. Those kids are all targeted based on their obvious areas of growth that's needed. So those kids are pulled out of class during the last last 30 minutes of the fifth hour, so they're not missing that academic class. It's actually a 30-minute period, which you guys are aware of, but for Ms. Johnson, it's the last 30 minutes of fifth hour, and it's all relegated towards charging students for 3 times a week. So, and that's customizable, aligns with schools' core learning goals, as stated. And also built into classes, we have programs such as I Excel for Math, Khan Academy for Math, which all of our students are using. Newsela, some call it News ELA, I just call it Newsela, and NoLA as well. So we're gradually improving at the high school. I think if you look at the last 10 years, you're going to start to see a slow tier. But again, you're dealing with, and you have to look at whether we want to or not. We have to look at things like schools of choice, where students are coming from, what they're learning in their schools. It's not where we have the luxury of 40 years ago where districts had kids starting at kindergarten and they're through their school system all the way.
Unheard of
from age
these
5
days.
or 6.
There's some
Right.
slides to show
We've
that.
got a smorgasbord of districts that we're pulling kids out of. We don't know what those kids have been through at school in terms of their experience. We don't know what type of trauma those kids have been within home that's impacted their education. So there's a lot that goes into what you see in these NWA scores that's not talked about. And then lastly, Kim actually, was in October, I think, she was at her curriculum directors meeting at Wayne Risa, and they pulled this slide up. So as you can see, top 5 Wayne County high schools with the most improvement in SAT math between 2023 and 2024. Redford Union High School had the again, as you can see at the top, that's a district initiative that many people at district level and students and parents and teachers all bought into. So that's to be celebrated around the district.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're like,
Did you
yes.
know this?
You're like, no.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
As far as like the students, I know like we don't always get parents to come to conferences, which is sad. But as far as like the students understanding their scores and like what that all means, are there like parts of their day or like a assembly or something that like gets them hyped up and to understand like what the point of it is and where they're at?
So part of the MTSS is that data feedback to students as well. So like during our Panther time, our students will can pull up their own scores, whether it's NWA score, their SAT scores once they come out, all that stuff. Teachers are given directly to go over that. So that's Panther time is kind of a like I said, it's for SEL, it's for the tutoring, but also there's opportunity for our data-driven findings with our teachers as well, because those kids need to understand that. Not just that, but transcripts, credits, all that stuff is important for those kids to stay on top of.
And as part of the stated discussion this school year, that has been something that we've asked all building administrators to have their teachers do, is to make sure they talk to their students about what their scores are.
Dr. Lindsay.
So over at Day Tree, things are a little different. But what we do is we also incentivize our students, right? So we look at the data from the fall of the year to the end of the year. So they take it 3 times. And so if there's any growth, right, in any one of the areas, we incentivize. So when we're talking to them about the importance of the assessment, we also attach an incentive to that as well to get them motivated, because our students, of course, are really motivated by some type of reward and incentive.
Pizza.
I'm not jumping ahead to your slide.
Food.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you,
feel free
Mr.
to
Taylor.
depart when you need to. I'll run back here to Hilbert real quick. But I was very impressed by those math skills.
Good job,
Hilbert
Mr. Taylor.
Elementary, so we know that Hilbert is kind of a new building, elementary building. We have 1 year total, yeah, of being a K-6 building, so it's been a lot of learning, a lot of growing. And some of those kids were shifted from Beach over to Hilbert, and so learning a whole new thing. We had a building administrative change mid-year last year. So I can tell you that there are great things coming out of Hilbert soon. I mean, there already are, but we're gonna see. You're gonna physically see all the great things that are coming.
We're going to see the evidence of the great
Like
thing.
in the next one.
Wow.
Physically, there's gonna be more. So that was their
Poor
ELA.
Jill.
This is their math growth scores. So I'll let Ms. Birch speak to her slide.
All right, so Melissa and I work in tandem on many things at the elementary level, so many of the things that we do are the same, like the analyzing of the data. We actually took as Gilbert had its inaugural year last year, we took the findings from Beach from the last 3 years to combine, to look at the MSTEP scores and the NWEA. So when my teachers went over the data, we were comparing our last year to the previous 2 years at Beach. And we found that there were overarching things, again, between the NWEA and MSTEP. They have to do with the higher order thinking skills. So getting kids engaged in lessons and pushing them a little bit further. Again, we did the root cause analysis as well, where we looked at the deficits and came together as a committee to go over that. The PLCs, we use our data, teachers collaborate and they plan together for the workshop model. We also have the interventionists, we have reading interventionists, and then as Ms. Nicholas said, we also use our specialist teachers as interventionists during the day after the free time. We have ATAs, academic teaching assistants, that are K through 2, and so our specialist teachers pick grades 3 through 6 and over so that they have some additional assistance as well. Looking at our NWEA scores, we both had an after-school reading tutoring program that lasted for 6 weeks for the first half, and then we take a break in January, and then we start up again for 6 more weeks in February, and again, that's at both elementary. The teachers have looked at the effectiveness of both performative and summative assessments on whether or not the changes they've made in their groups and in their workshop model have made an impact, whether they're going to move forward with new concepts or whether we need to continue with the concepts we had addressed already. We have great coaching support, which I think Crenshaw had mentioned. We have that best practices coach that goes throughout, and then the reading COSA and the math COSA, and then the bi-weekly meetings for our MTSS process is helpful. And every student in the MTSS process goes, they receive a case manager, and that case manager continues to work with the teacher and the student throughout the process, and then they come back and we reevaluate and do a lot of progress monitoring with the interventions we put in place.
So all of the buildings have talked a little bit about PLCs, and PLCs were written into teacher contracts this year, so they have to stay for 2 PLCs a month after school, and then also their staff meetings. So PLCs are not used for staff meeting time, PLCs are used for data. So this is our first year of having them regularly, twice a month. So I think it seems like they're being effective. We probably will keep them in their contract going forward. So thank you, Ms. Birch. So our junior high, we'll just kind of look through theirs. Their slide is very similar to the high schools, but Ms. Peterson had some family emergencies today, and Ms. Sims already had something else planned, so they could not be here. So here are their language arts reading scores for 7, 8, 9, and then their math scores. And I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with the junior high scores this year. They're pretty good, so we'll hope we see more of that trend continuing. So they also have the 2 PLCs, they have the bi-weekly MTSS meetings, they're using FEV tutoring during Panther time. They're also using their FEV tutoring during a different part of the day, during their enrichment time, I believe, and they are also implementing Math 180 for another math intervention. So I'll have a little slide about that later on. So they do have their additional ELA and math support class based on their abilities. It's an hour of an enrichment time. They do one semester, they flip-flop to the other one the second semester, so each classroom is getting that extra additional enrichment time. It's not necessarily they're going in and they're doing what they were doing in their ELA class. They're going in and they're doing other activities during that hour. And then their Panther time, they're using the IXL, Newsella, not It's ELA, I don't know why I didn't say that. It's all good. And then, Khan Academy and Math 180. So, this is the high school.
I wanted to see that, go back for the high school, yeah,
Yeah.
the breathing.
Yeah, 10th grade's looking a little rough. In 12th grade, we do not give NWEA 2.
Weren't they like fifth graders though when COVID happened, so?
Yeah, I mean, and who knows what was going on that day with 10th graders when they took these tests. I mean, it's, you know.
They could have been typical 10th graders.
Yeah, it's hard to say what happens on testing for that many. I mean, for the line to be nowhere is a little bit odd to me. But to see no growth events, so I really am not sure what happened there. So hopefully that will look different in the spring when we see that score come back again. We don't want to see that one again. But again, their math score, we have some amazing math teachers at the high school right now. I've sat in a couple of their classes over the last few weeks. So now we have Miss Jane with her Veritas students. Now I don't include Veritas and Stuckey Keeler, day treatment into our district scores just because there are so few students. They're on such specialized plans, and with day treatment, they're kind of coming and going. You never know what's happening on a day. So we give them that. I give them that kind of grace, and I just don't add them to the district. But I wanted to give them some time to look at their data as well. So here is Veritas ELA and Veritas Math.
Good job.
Miss Jane.
So we also are looking at data during PLCs. We also are running a Math Essentials class where we're using Edgenuity and IXL combined to help our students because they're doing math on Edgenuity right now. And so we're trying to support them in as many ways as we can. And so as a building, which is only 3 teachers, we meet weekly to come up with a plan for the week based on how students are progressing. We're moving towards including an English Essentials class for kids that maybe might be doing okay in math, but their English scores look lower than expected. I will say the test fatigue is rough. And not just from like one cycle to the next. We notice that students will really give their best effort to the first test out of the subject areas that they take. So if they take math first, out of math, reading and science, math is the one they're going to spend the most time on. By the time they get to that third one out of the group, they're done. And we're struggling with having them slow down instead of just clicking through. And then again in spring, after they've done SAT, PSAT, all those stuff, they're done. So it's really hard. We do, like Dr. Lindsay was saying, we do try to incentivize it at the end of the year. But even that's a struggle. And then in science, Mrs. Perry, who I've highlighted in the board rec book, has really been trying to have a lot of hands-on things, and the kids are loving it. They're the loudest room in the building, but students are having the most fun and learning along the way. They come into my room after hers every time she has science, and they're excited to tell me about what they were working on.
That's awesome.
So I count that as a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so Ms. Jane, just to give extra information about why they do Ingenuity for math, you do not have a certified secondary math teacher out of their 3.
We're looking for that unicorn.
Yeah, those are hard to come by. Secondary math teacher is tough to come by. So the students are doing the lessons on Ingenuity because it has to be a certified person, and then they're supplementing with their math essentials.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, Ingenuity math is hard. I'm not saying that all math is not hard, but I know Ingenuity, it's hard. So the fact that they're doing that great is amazing in Ingenuity.
Math is hard without a teacher anyway, especially when you get into the high school level. I mean, no.
So then we have day treatment. So Keeler is a K-12 program. Again, we don't give tests to 12th graders. So you can see they've had some growth. They had one 9th grade. I'm not sure what the situation is there, but if you look at their numbers in each grade level, there are very few students in each grade level. So just because it's like the 9th grade's going down, how many students are there? 2? Oh, 9. 9. So if,
Yeah.
Like, two kids aren't doing good, then things go south quickly. So, this is their math. Look at their math. Wow.
Yeah.
Look at you guys
Woohoo.
go over there.
Yeah.
Man. Kicking butt. And so, Miss Dr. Lindsay.
Okay, and so for some of you who are not familiar with our program, we actually service 9 school districts within Western Wayne County. So when Kim was saying that, a lot of our students, they're not all Redford Union students. The majority of them come from other districts, and of course, they all have an IEP. So pretty much everything that the other buildings are doing, we're doing as well, because that is the expectation our student is expected to achieve, just like all students. However, that looks a little different for our students, and it is a little bit more difficult because we have to make sure that that behavior is under control. So when we have staffings, right? And so it's kind of like the MTSS. We don't only look at the academic, we pay just probably even more attention to the behavior because we have to get that under control in order for our students to even focus, to even sit down to do the assessment. So when we look at that, we do things like wraparound. We also have our monthly staffings. We do our PLCs twice a month as well. Let's see, and with our wraparounds, of course, we also invite the entire team. So if a student has a therapist or something like that outside, they are a part of our team. One good thing that we have is our class sizes are small, and every class has an assistant. Every class has an assistant, and some of them have 2. So when we have those students, once we have met and we see that a student needs more support, we do have an educational assistant that can provide some of that one-on-one support to our students, whether it's behavioral or academic. Let's see, so we do all, Khan Academy, Edgenuity. We utilize Edgenuity a lot. We only have 14 teachers in the building, and of course our high school students have to earn credits just like any other, and so we don't have all those teachers, so we do use Edgenuity a lot for that. And as I said, that we do incentivize our students at the end of the year for a big trip, but just day to day, right? And even especially the days that they are taking the assessment, and like Katie Jane was saying, usually once we get that day finished with that first test, it's kind of hard. So we do ours very slow. We may only do reading on this particular day because if we try to do reading and science, we know that that is a little bit overwhelming and that's too much for them. So we usually try to do just one assessment each day. Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And so just like teaching math at Detroit, you have to be certified as an EI teacher.
Right, so yeah, you
treatment.
have to
So
have that.
whether the rest of the certifications come along with them, it's hit or miss. So, so there's that. Pardon me, I have to restart here. There. Okay, so we've talked a lot about our enrollment and I think Mike kind of alluded to it about when our students should join us. We talked about this topic back when we were doing our grade reconfiguration, and I just wanted to revisit it, and I'd like to continue to revisit it as we move forward in the years, because I would like us to see that our moves to 2 K-6 elementary buildings is going to help us in the long run. We're hoping that our transitions aren't going to lose kids like they were before. So we were transitioning K1, then they moved to a new building to 2-5, then they moved from 2-5 to 6-8, then they moved from 6-8 to 9-12. And in the middle there, we were losing some kids. I mean, as well you should, I guess. That makes darn those signs, Jackie.
It's the rules. The rules fell right off the wall.
More rules so I'm going to continue to include these. So I'm encouraged by the fact that when I look at Beach Elementary, I don't see any other. What I'm kind of looking for is to see, do we get kids from outside the district? So we had kids, majority of our kids started either at McGowan, Hilbert, Beach, actually all of our students started in the district, McGowan, Hilbert, Beach, or at BBEC, maybe in our early on program over there. Hilbert, we had just that one student that came from somewhere else, who knows where they came from, but all of those students also started in the district. So that's good. Okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now when we get to our secondary classes, our secondary buildings, we can see, we had some kids, we had 88 kids from here, 138 from McGowan. We had some that joined us at Hilbert in the middle school, so you've already lost K through 6. And then we had a bunch that joined us at the junior high, so that's 7, 8, 9. So only 130 of these kids at our junior high right now just started Redford Union schools at Redford Union Junior High.
Mm-hmm.
So those kids, we don't know what they've learned prior to them coming to us. And even more so, you can see it here at the high school. Only 163 of our kids joined our district at Redford Union High School. So their first experience with us was at Redford Union High School. So our goal is to have this be more just Beach and Hilbert Elementary as we go forward. We're hoping that we have less colors on our wheel through the years. And it's not to say that we shouldn't be bringing those kids along with us, but it also is, it's a whole extra piece of the puzzle that we have to account for. This was the data that I presented when we were doing the grade reconfiguration. So obviously we had this other group, I think maybe came from back new to McGowan, and McGowan was K1 at that time, so you would expect some of that. Beach, McGowan, and Beach, so we had still only 2-5 building. We had 69 students that joined us at Beach, and then 94 that came from, you know, what other surrounding programs. And then at Hilbert, which was our junior Hilbert Middle School at the time, you know, we had quite a few join us at Hilbert, which is the gray section there. Pretty big blue section from McGowan though, so that's hopeful. But when I get to the high school and we have so many different
Wow.
colors on this wheel,
Wow.
you know. So this is what we're trying to get away from. We're trying to get away from all this discombobulation, I'll call it, of people coming in and from all over.
So I think it's important to note, though, that while we are trying to get away from this, we're a transient community.
Yes, we are.
And so the reality is, because a lot of people would look at, say, people who are critics of school of choice would say, oh, those are school of choice kids. No, those are not school of choice kids. Those are people who have moved into this community at that grade level or whatever, and may or may not stay, because the reality is this: home ownership is expensive. A lot of people can't do it anymore. And we know that we have a housing crisis in this country. So I think it's important to point out that that our community, like so many, is very transient, and that is some of the problem here. How we get people to stay in the community.
Yes, and to your point, Mr. Norton is working on some other numbers that would show us our kind of school of choice versus our in-district students. He had other engagement tonight, so he was not able to come, but he's also not really totally finished with it, so I wasn't gonna just throw it in here and have it be like haphazard. So we will bring that information back to you guys too, to let you know how many of our school of choice students, specifically when we met as a team, we were wondering how many of our school of choice students are those underperforming students versus our in-district, and you know, just trying to make sure that we're looking at all of the different factors that are playing into our student learning. So
I'd be curious too to know how many of those school of choice students that come to us stay with us.
yes.
And how long.
And where our absenteeism is with those students too. Is it a transportation issue, bringing them into the district because you don't live in the district? So all things that we need to look at and address. And you know, if that's the case, they just can't get a ride here, then we should find a way to fix that, right? I mean, that's a pretty simple fix. So to close this off, because I'm already gonna hear backlash from being on this stage so long, but these are some programs that we have implemented and are still working on implementing. We have teachers on overload of programs and initiatives, and some of them may start revolting against us soon, but that's okay. We're gonna handle it. But
No more initiatives.
so this year we did start our HMH Into Readings series. I think things are going well with it, but we will get an update on that as we get towards the end of the school year. I don't want to speak to it and not have information to actually share that's accurate. I would rather wait and we can gather all of that together. IXL, we have a district-wide license with IXL. We found it was very beneficial in a couple buildings last year, so we got a really good deal on the district-wide license. So all district students have access to IXL. Modern Classroom Project, we have a couple of classrooms at the high school who are practicing this modern classroom.
Jason talked about that.
We're gonna see how that goes. We lost one of the teachers that was doing that. She's, not been in, and so there's some things with it, so we're still kinda trying to figure that one out. I did not add project-based learning in here. That is a big initiative we have at all of our buildings. Conmigo, Miss Ball is in a program with, the county and Michigan Virtual that's allowing her access to Conmigo with her students, so she is using that in her classroom. It's part of Khan Academy. We have our high dosage shooting, which is F3V. We've already talked about that at length today. We are expanding our Math 180. We had Math 180 back when we were Hilbert Junior High, Hilbert Middle School. We kind of let it go. COVID time came, things happened. Ms. Peterson is pushing to get this back, so we have paid for all of that. I think we're still working on the teachers getting licensed, so that will start probably second semester. And coming soon, second semester here, will be varsity tutors. All students in the district will have access to on-demand varsity tutoring. Anytime they want, they can go on, request a tutor for whatever subject they need, and they do things like essay reviews, coaching for higher level groups and all those things. So I just have to get some stuff to.
So those are going to be like I can call on Sunday,
Yes.
and they're going to be a person on the other end.
That's what they tell me. Now we haven't started it yet, so whether or not that's what happens, I'm not gonna say yes, but I'm feeling good about them because that's what they keep telling me.
All grade levels, or
all
just
grade levels, yep.
awesome.
Yep, so that will be a good thing. And then we just wanted to throw in some quick criteria. This is all from our MTSS book. Chris added these for me today, so this is just the criteria we use for identifying students at our elementary level. Our junior high, and they all have different, obviously, because you can't look at a high school student and say maybe look at our grades 10 and 11, because they don't even, they don't all take M-STEP, they don't all take, they all take different tests at the secondary level, so trying to make sure that we covered where they should, what tests we're looking at for them. And then grade 12, because they don't take NWBA at all, so how do we identify those 12th graders? So they have some other criteria. And that's the end. Hopefully everybody understands, because I know I'm gonna get in trouble. Does anyone have any last minute questions? I'm just joking.
I just want to say, I love that. I love to see the progress. We talk about that all the time, and I love to hear the shift. I know it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about we wanted just this much growth, and now I hear the shift that we want proficiency, that anything less than that is going to not be okay anymore. When I hear the test fatigue, I think back to when I was in high school. I think one year, we took the California Achievement Test. Ooh, I'm totally dating myself.
That's the cat. Yes, I did that too. Yes.
And we had to use a stupid little pencil, right? I think one year we took that. We took our SAT, and then we took this stupid little proficiency test that you have to take if you're joining the military, which I don't know why they made me take that, because I was never planning on joining the military, but I just think, I was like, so even 30 years ago, we were over-testing kids, so I can't even imagine, this is way more than I ever had to take in 1 year. So.
Nice job.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're working hard.
Data.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. The data.
I think that's the biggest, newest thing too. That I see a lot more data dive in my years here. We've always talked about the data, and we've looked at the data. I feel like there's more in depth in the data than any time in my time on the board.
I think that's a piece we've been missing, is getting the teachers into discussion.
Yeah. And to see them getting the aha moment.
They have a lot on their plates, and it's hard to say, "Come sit down, because now we want to talk to you about this."
Yeah.
But we have to, because that's what we have to fix.
There's a process, and it's a regular process, and when you know the process, kids don't fall through the cracks. So
That's right.
It's rare.
That's right. That's right. All right. Woo! Yes, you can walk away.
She's like, I'm walking away. I'm walking away.
Okay, we will move on to student leadership event. Tamara Dillard, Executive Director of Student Services.
Good evening, board. Thank you for having me. Happy New Year to all of you. I know this is an honor. Huh?
Press and hold.
Maybe I did it wrong. Maybe user error. Oh, there we go. Okay, good evening, everybody. Nice to see all of you. Thank you for letting me present on just a couple quick updates. So, I sit on our Hope Empowerment Coalition with 9 other school districts, along with Jessica Miller, our SEL coordinator, for across Wayne County, who educates 65,000 of our students. That number is really important as I talk. So as an extension of our Hope Empowerment Coalition, we have decided to develop a student-led empowerment coalition. And they're going to look at mental health in our schools, in our secondary campuses, in our high schools, and our very own Alicia sits on that team so far. So I want to talk to you this evening about an event that we had on December 8th. It was a Saturday. It was an amazing time. It was at Northville High School. There were, let me see here, 31 total students who attended. Redford Union was represented, Garden City, Northville, Livonia, and Taylor. Of the 31, 17 were Redford Union kids. So we were there, we were proud of representing. And that was 9th through 12th graders. We realized that 9th graders are at our junior high, but it's a 9th through 12th program, and so they came in very strong. So it was an amazing day. Matt Schwartz was a presenter. He went to Northville. He's now the owner of and CEO of Evolving Lives Therapy. He presents on mental health in schools, on risk factors, a variety of information. And so he presented a lot of information to our students. I will tell you that the kids were cell phones were put away. They were so engaged. They were listening. They took that information from Matt's presentation and they carried it throughout the school throughout that Saturday. He talks about substance abuse and suicidality and the data behind that. Then our kids broke out in breakout sessions. The first group was a mixed group of kids from the different high schools and junior high. They talked about issues like, what does mental health mean to you? What are you seeing as far as mental health in your schools? Their perception of how schools are addressing and supporting mental health concerns. That was incredibly interesting to hear how our kids view how our schools are addressing mental health around them every single day. What can their schools do better? And these groups were student-led. Adults got to kind of chair the groups, but when you sat back and watched and listened to these kids, they were phenomenal. I had an amazing, amazing, amazing day. I went back to my days as a school social worker, and it was phenomenal. Pardon me? Oh, okay. Then a large group share out. We talked about what schools have in common, what the needs are, what the trends are, and how important student voice is. So the kids identified, from their breakout sessions, they identified dealing with reducing stigma of mental health in their buildings. They talked a lot about teachers not noticing or understanding the presenting issues around mental health. And the fact that our teachers, not our, but our in general, right, that our teachers don't know how to deal with mental health issues at a high school level. That was a very prominent concern that they brought, very brave to bring that forward. They want training for teachers. They want our teachers to be trained on what mental health is, how you deal with it, how you speak to a student, right, who has a mental health issue. They want teachers with consistent boundaries and resources in our schools. Those came from our kids during that breakout session. So from that work, then our next step is to identify 3 students. So for us, we're unique. Again, we get to have 6 because of our 9th graders and our high schoolers. So the rest will have 3, but we get 6 to represent Redford Union, which is really cool. So we are putting together that group of students. We have 3 interested students at our high school, 3 at our junior high, and we're going to move forward. It was a phenomenal day, very powerful. The kids were so engaged. Like I said, they were thoughtful. They want to see change in their schools, and they want to be the ones to ignite that change, which I think is amazing. So today, it was great timing. We met again as this coalition. We recapped our December event, and we're looking at the next event. It's going to be on a Saturday. We're doing Saturdays because you can't do it during school, right? We don't want to pull our kids from instruction. After school is tough. They've got jobs, they've got families, they've got sports, they're tired, et cetera, et cetera. So we're really looking at a Saturday to do that. And our kids came, and they didn't mind that it was a Saturday, but we fed them. And we, right, so we gave them, good stuff. And we're going to feed them again, so just so you know. We are looking at, so this meeting for this now group of kids is going to be at Plymouth Canton on March 1st. It's a Saturday. I will be there. And then I have asked Mr. Taylor if he minds if we, Redford Union, host in April in our new beautiful cafeteria over there to highlight, our district. And so we're going to work through that. We are, let me see,
Our multi-purpose room.
our multi-purpose room, which is beautiful, right?
Created for events such as that.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wynn. So, yeah, it's super exciting, and it's a beautiful space, so I'm really excited to have our kids here. What we really want to do is get the conversation of mental health going in our schools. We really want to get our kids, involved, and have them take the initiative and lead this work. So I will give you more updates as this comes about. What I really want to do is have our kids come with me when we present at board meetings. I don't need to be the one talking. They should be the one sitting here and talking to you and bringing this forward. It's very, very exciting. I can't say enough how much fun I had. We want to get them to develop their own mission and vision for this work, which we're confident that they'll do once we feed them. So again, March 1st, and then I don't know about the April date yet. So that's just an update on what we are doing as a suicide coalition across the county, and then again, the extension of that work with our students. So it's really, really exciting. Any questions about that? Thoughts, concerns?
So this is in addition to the work we're doing, that the
Yes.
Hope Squad is doing?
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's, yes. Same kind of kids came.
Right.
But the work is similar but different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All
Anything
right.
else?
I think we're good. Okay, so
Okay.
you're up again.
I know, I'll just stay right here.
Parent Advisory Committee
I'll
update.
just stay here. So thank you again, and good evening again. So we have our PAC meeting, Parent Advisory Committee meetings, once a month with Risa. I attended it whatever the 9th was, Thursday, I think. It was virtual, so I was in my house from 6:30. It was a long meeting until 9 o'clock. So just a really quick update on that. And I'm coming to you because, kind of full disclosure, I've tried to get a hold of our PAC parent. I'm not able to get in touch with her. She's not responded. So I am working with Risa on that to kind of see what they'd like me to do. And so I will be in attendance at every PAC meeting until we can figure that piece out, just so you, as a board, have that information. Great presentation was done by Stephanie Nichols, who is Michigan Alliance for Families. She's a training manager. She presented on FAPE, which is Free and Appropriate Public Education, and the LRE, which is Least Restrictive Environment. We have a lot of acronyms in special ed. So that was an hour and 15-minute presentation. But she's speaking to parents, right, and educating them. And so it was a great, great presentation. So she really kind of touched on, I don't need to go over all that with you, but I did take notes. So she also, there were officer reports. So 2 of their executive board members had to step down. And so what Risa has decided to do was transfer the duties back to Wayne Risa until the fall of 2025, when they can get people on the board who can serve out that time. And so those duties are going to go back to Vita Lusk, Teresa, and Celeste. Those are the Wayne Risa consultants who are going to take this work over, again, until folks can be identified for the executive board. Conference is upcoming, the CEC, Council for Exceptional Children, and START training, which is the autism training through Grand Valley, which is a remarkable program. Some of our beach educators are START trained, which is great. RISA sponsors PAC members if they attend a training. I think it's up to $5,000, but they have to apply 30 days before the conference. So that's nice. They've got a special recognition program coming up. It's April 17th at 6:30. It's to kind of nominate anybody in your life who has made a big impact on who you are for whatever reason. So that's exciting. Let me see here. The MDE is coming in to Wayne County. Well, they're here. They've been visiting districts. So they're going to go to 16 districts and 14 public school academies across Michigan. They are coming to Redford Union on January 28th. So I'll be here that day. And really, they're going to speak to all of our staff who we nominate to just kind of discuss with them. They're going to interview them on what least restrictive environment really means across their district. So gen educators, administrators, They're going to go to Beach Elementary and the junior high. So I will give you updates on how that goes once I get feedback. Woodhaven is doing an all-inclusive glow party. It's super exciting. I live like 5 minutes from their school, so I'm going to go. It is February 13th. Megan and I, the PAC parent, we spoke about that via email. She kind of asked me for some suggestions and feedback, and so I gave her some thoughts, but I will let you know how that goes. I'm really excited. So it's an all-inclusive event for kids, anybody who can go, so that's very, very exciting. The next PAC meeting is February 13th, and that is virtual. And that's all I have. I'm a lot quicker than Kim was.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes,
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So I think it was maybe earlier, a few months ago, we spoke about learning about the curriculum for the special education curriculum. Yeah, it was going to be presented at the January meeting. Are you presenting?
And it is going to be presented at the board workshop. We have 2 meetings in the month. And with everything else on this agenda, I determined that the workshop would be the best forum
Yep.
for that information to be presented.
Okay. Awesome. And then, so I'll wait till the
Yep,
next
I'm working on it.
And so, I'll just talk to that.
Yeah.
We're waiting for Risa to tell us how to proceed with this parent who isn't involved. But if I recall, we as a board approve her appointment. And
Correct.
so I feel like we as a board have the power and the right to appoint somebody new.
Yeah.
Without Risa's intervention,
Yeah.
because this is, so obviously something has happened in her life that she can no longer do it. So I don't know that we need to wait for them to tell us what to do, but
Right.
obviously we're gonna follow your lead on this.
Sure.
But that's just where
We'll get
that's
some
my
additional
feeling.
information on
Yeah.
the situation if we can, and then we'll
Yes.
make a plan to move forward.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm just reaching out to see what they'd like, what the process is.
Okay,
Anything else?
I think we're good.
Thank you.
All right. Woo.
Kim, do you want this back? Want me to leave
All
it?
right, everybody okay? Lot of information. Okay, student representative communication. Ms. Jesuik.
Hi, everyone. So, as we come back from winter break, there's not a lot of activities going on. A lot of students are studying towards like the finals that are coming up. But we have varsity basketball games on the 17th, the 21st for the girls, and the 25th, which is a Saturday for our boys varsity. And then student council has finally started talking about prom and prom planning.
Yeah.
Is there any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Winter finals? I guess I have one question.
End of the month.
Okay. She doesn't know.
It's the last week in January.
Thank you. Well, we wish you well with finals.
Oh, you want to say, yeah.
I think the first day of the second semester is February 2nd.
Okay. All right. Moving on to superintendent's communications, Mr. Witt.
So the January 2025, I almost said 2024 there.
I know, right?
Board brag book is provided there. I did print off all the pages in the packet.
Good job.
I'll be honest, Jackie printed off all the pages.
Yeah. We
So
know.
Kim has to enlist Jackie for that. So starting off at Beach Elementary, their school was visited by special guests to celebrate the holidays, including the Grinch.
Did his heart grow? Good.
Now I know Kim has former mascot experience, so I do not know if she was the Grinch or not, but. Beach Elementary also, the Canton varsity hockey team adopted a beach family for the holidays, and there's some pictures there of that, so kudos to the hockey team from Canton, and we thank them for that. Also at Beach, students with 0 suspensions and fewer than 4 behavioral referrals were treated to pancakes made by Miss Nickel and other staff, I believe. So a lot of pancakes, because 86% of the students at Beach met those criteria to be invited to the celebration, so kudos to all those students. Also, Beach continued their partnership with Meyer, as the 4th grade students spent time caroling in the store. So thank you to Meyer for that partnership, and also to our vocal music teachers for their efforts relative to that event. Our December session of, so this one is for both Beach and Hilbert. Our December session of the Family University focused on managing emotions, and there's some pictures there. They had a popcorn-filled movie night.
And there was popcorn everywhere.
At Hilbert, moving on, they had their winter concerts on Thursday, December 19th. Kindergarten through 3rd grade students showcased their vocal music talents. Kudos to Mr. Middleton for organizing that holiday musical event. The PBIS celebration, also making some pancakes, whole lot of them. 425 students there. That's a whole lot of pancakes. A lot of pancake batter. So there's photos there of the young people enjoying those pancakes,
They had fun.
all with big smiles on their faces.
I mean, I'm food motivated, so I get it.
Next up at the junior high school, December was a very busy time at all of our buildings, but, and this is something that I want to just say kudos to our junior high staff, our secondary staff, but you're also seeing it even at the elementary level as we've continued to emphasize it and work with, through the support of our best practice coaches, through Mr. Norton's leadership, and just the emphasis on project-based learning. And there you'll see Mrs. Force had her 7th grade social studies students engage in a mummy project. And again, and we actually met earlier today, had a 3-hour meeting with the administrative building leaders, talking about that portrait of a graduate and that process that we're working through. And just that student engagement piece is huge. Finding ways to engage our students, and there's no doubt that these project-based learning activities that are taking place more and more across the district, and it's not exclusive to the junior high or the high school, again, it's at the elementary. There's these type of projects taking place in our day treatment program. And I know right here, earlier tonight, Katie Jane talked about the fact that, and it's highlighted later on here, about the science teacher here and how she's incorporating those activities. So kudos to all those teachers. We highlighted Mrs. Force there. Also, Mr. Schickler had his biology students engaging in a fun activity, working on decorating the best living Christmas tree. Also, our cognitively impaired students, so our CI students, working with Miss Urbinowitz and Miss Peruski, working on decorating holiday cookies. And yes, there was a whole lot of tasting going on too while they were decorating those. Miss Wiley, our 7th grade science teacher, took a group of 7th and 8th grade students to the University of Michigan Museum of Natural History to engage in a Let It Glow Investigate lab. So again, another hands-on opportunity for our students. And then on the last day of school before Christmas break, the PBIS team rewarded students who met that goal with snacks and a showing of the holiday classic, Home Alone.
You notice their popcorn wasn't all over the floor. It's true.
And I think they got more than popcorn. I think if I read it earlier, yeah, they got hot dogs and popcorn, all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Maybe they just like got more.
All right. So the pizza didn't end up on the floor?
No, they ate that in the cafeteria.
Okay, good.
Popcorn and stuff.
Next up at the high school on December 10th, in coordination with both the junior high and the high school, we had 2 separate assemblies. And also coordination with our SEL department. We brought in a magician. His name is Anthony Gruppito. He's not only a magician, but he's a mentalist and escape artist. He happens to also be a professional pickpocket. And I've seen his skills. I've seen his skills myself, although not with any of my stuff. But he has a fabulous.
I'm sure you should put that on your resume.
He has a fabulous mental health awareness message that he ties into his magic and his escape artistry. And it's a powerful message. It's his own story. Goes back to his time in high school and even a little bit before high school. And it's a powerful message, and he does a great job of engaging the students and put on 2 very good assemblies talking about mental health. And I think one of the most powerful things is not only seeing the interactions with the students and the amazing magic that he is able to do, but actually just hanging around afterwards to hear some of our students hanging around afterwards, not only to take selfies with him, which I guess they all do, but some of them, like, personally, like, I overheard some of their conversations, personally thanking him for his message because of how it hit home with them. And that just ties into, this is a continuation of the Hope Empowerment Coalition work. It's a continuation of our Hope Squad work, and that to me, and we've gotten a tremendous amount of positive publicity because of those programs. Kudos throughout the county and even elsewhere. But the most powerful thing to me, and it even comes out in some of those media stories and things like that, is if you give this has shown me that if we continue to give our students opportunities to lead, and I know Alicia is part of this as well, they'll not only step up, but they'll most likely exceed your expectations.
Absolutely.
Like when it comes to a very tough topic of mental health, and especially the suicide awareness piece, to see how they've stepped up and the things they're willing to talk about with their peers, it's just amazing. And it goes a long way. There's no doubt that we need to continue to do things with our staff, and we're continuing to provide the mental health support resources all we are able to within our budget constraints. We're pursuing grants all the time to do those type of things. And I think that's been like one positive out of this pandemic is there were dollars available to get those things going. Now the question is going to be sustainability. But I will say the fact that we're also at the same time building programs that our students are stepping up in. It just takes it all like to another level because they're able to just make an impact that even adults with some of the most significant educational training might not be able to engage students in that same way. So kudos to all that positive work. And we do have a chance, and we're going to work on this. Anthony Gruppito also has a similar but age-appropriate program for the elementary levels. So we're going to talk about trying to find a way to facilitate that in the future, maybe even sometime during the second semester. But if not, then definitely next school year, because he does a fabulous job. Also at the high school, just talked about these students, and this was one of those opportunities. We had 3 of our high school students, and the photos are there that follow, speak to the Council of Chief Negotiators and Council for Academic Leadership, which are groups that operate under the Metro Bureau. The Metro Bureau has district members all across Macomb County, Wayne County, Genesee County, Oakland County, Livingston County, and all those people got a chance to hear 3 of our students talk about their experience within Hope Squad. So there's photos there of that event and our students speaking there.
Can I also add that one of the ladies that was here today working with us was also at this presentation and just was so moved by our students and what a great job they did presenting that. So I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with the board about how impressed she was with our students that came that day. And I've heard that from many people that were at the meeting, so I appreciate them coming to share that with us.
And again, that took place at the Dearborn Country Club, and it was just a great opportunity for Miss Miller, and then our high school sponsor of the Hope Squad, Lynn, and then these 3 young people to engage and talk about their own experience within this program. And also, and we've talked about this before, but I think the pictures say it all. We again want to thank Vision to Learn for this opportunity to get these eyeglasses for free in the hands of our students. And again, over 200 Redford Union High School students, and we're now to the point where we're replicating this at the junior high school, and then we have to do a little more coordination to get this going for the elementary levels, but that is in the plans. And it's just amazing. And again, look at the smiles on their faces.
Yeah.
That's a lot of kids.
And again,
That's a lot of kids.
through their process, they identified, like was just brought up, over 1/3 of our students at the high school that would benefit from having glasses. And this is probably the only way that these students would have been in a position to have that testing done because of a lot of challenges that everybody faces. But not only that, but the own stigma of even if their parents can provide those opportunities and things for them, which I guarantee you they all want to, these are students who, unless we did this type of screening, would never speak up and admit that they can't see
The board.
the whiteboard. They can't see the dry erase board, and guarantee you there's important material up there that's worth them seeing. So I think it's just gonna help things in the classroom, also boost their confidence maybe in some other areas. And the fact that you do it through a program like that, where again, over 200 of your peers are also getting those glasses, it makes it like much easier, I think, for you to not only receive the glasses, but maybe pull them out of the case now that they have them and put them on when they need them. So that's a powerful program. We thank Wayne County and Vision to Learn for that partnership.
Yeah.
On December 18th, at the secondary campus, students from both the junior high and high school came together to make Christmas cards to deliver to seniors at nearby nursing homes. So there's photos of that. Another way in which our students are giving back. And also, of course, Teddy, the therapy dog, of course, made a guest appearance
He needed
there.
to make cards too. Yaw.
And then congratulations to one of our high school seniors on the wrestling team, Ivan Mendez, who won his 100th career wrestling match over the holiday break. So that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Keeler Day treatment. All right. Represented in the house, I see. Had a small business, Custom by Lily, graciously donated sweatshirts to all the EDT students. Each student was able to pick from hundreds of patches and have them ironed on their new sweatshirts. And that same day, each student was gifted many presents that were provided by family and friends of the Healing Hearts group. So thank you to those groups for their efforts there and their support of our students at an important time in the holiday season. And also, the ADT SEL Club completed an arts and craft project for the holidays. That's fantastic hands-on work that they're doing there. And you can see the photos of the end products, which look awesome.
They look awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Veritas would recognize Mrs. McDonald. Mrs. McDonald is our science teacher here. Katie talked about her earlier. So just wanted to recognize her. And then there's some pictures here at the end, both of the assembly that took place for the junior high and high school. The Hope Squad is talked about again in their efforts with the Metro Bureau in that presentation. And also, we received, actually it's now, it says here the Fresh Den. I think there were 3 news stories that I saw on the Fresh Den.
I saw 3. I think all 3 channels.
Oh, 4?
Yeah.
So the
all
Fresh
3 networks
Den
in it.
is another opportunity that we launched to provide not only some pantry food supplies, but also laundry cleaning services. We've discussed it a little bit before. And it was great to see those news stories. And that was done through a combination of our administrators willing to participate in those news stories, but also working with our media communications partner, Lambert, to pitch some of the great things that we're doing around here. And there's no doubt that through their connections, they've been able to help us get a tremendous amount of positive press. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that the cake and donuts and cookies and other things do tie in to one of the most important things we need to recognize this month, and that's each of you as our board members. January is Board Member Appreciation Month. So we just want to, of course, recognize each of you on behalf of our staff and our students and the families in our community. Thank you for your service. Calendar of events is there as well, and that covers events January 14th through March 10th. So both the board brag book and this calendar of events will also be posted on our online on our website. And you have all that information now in front of you. One thing to highlight for the community or anybody that might follow up and watch this board meeting is the importance, one of the 2 most important days of the year will be coming up on February 12th, that second student count day. So that's coming up within this next stretch. And although we have a board workshop before then, I did want to highlight, of course, that count day. And I did already touch, in addition to my comments, Wayne Risa really did want to make sure that we shared with each of you a resolution, and you have a copy in your board packets, that was passed recognizing each of you as board members for your service to our community and our district. And that's it.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. So if we're like in Meyer and they're doing 7 for 7 and we're buying, macaroni and cheese and stuff like that, we can just drop them off, both elementary buildings? Any building? Well, I mean, I live a block from, so, I mean, okay.
We share our resources, so whatever is needed, like a lot of donations can come into beach, so Jessica lets us know, here's who's in need, box the things up, and we send them to the other schools.
Okay.
And,
Yeah,
and
'cause I mean,
And Miss Nichol is very camera friendly, which is why
really is.
she's highlighted on a lot of those news stories. But the Fresh Den is something that we have at each of our building to make those services available to our families. So while we're always happy to highlight Beach Elementary, that is a district-wide program.
Yeah.
And to her credit, I really appreciate the fact that Miss Nickel and Miss Miller both came in for a couple of those news stories on the weekend to make sure that that program was recognized. And I don't actually think it made it in here, or maybe I missed it, but I did want to thank, there's a community member, and actually, I guess community member being a little broader, because I believe she was from Farmington. And she made a $1,000 donation
Wow. Wow.
to Beach Elementary based on seeing that story
Wow.
to support the efforts in the Fresh Den. I already worked with Jackie to send her a thank you letter on behalf of the district for that. But yeah, a lot of good things are coming from that program, and I just wanted to highlight that over these last few weeks over the holidays. I think it was the last week before the break. As soon as one of those stories came out, lady stopped by at central office and brought that check.
Wow.
We've been receiving monetary donations, gift card donations, food, clothing, like self-care donations every single day.
That's fabulous.
amazing.
The power of just making people aware. Actually, I said two things, I lied. Three. I would like to, when I go to my executive board meeting on Thursday, I would like to offer our Hope Squad to come and present to the Wayne County Association of School Boards, if that is possible, because that's, that's like, we're all friendly, we're just all board members who love kids, right? But I don't want to go say that we'll do that without permission to say that we'll do that.
No, I'm sure we can find, with the number of students between the junior high and the high school that are participating in that program,
I think,
and their passion for what they're doing,
Yeah.
I think there's no doubt. It might not be the same three who presented before. It
That's
might be
fine.
a combination thereof. Our own Alicia was actually supposed to present at that event, but she claims she had some kind of important test to take or something.
I had a medical terminology final, which I passed with an A. Thank
see,
you guys.
okay, that was important. Yes, see, yes. That's right. Thank you. Thank
So
you.
she had another obligation, apparently.
Yeah, I just want to be able, because we're always looking for different things, to present at the general membership meetings. It's important work, and it's, something we can really be proud of. And then the MLK breakfast, do we have any information on that? In years past, before COVID, this district bought several tables, board members were invited. Then COVID happened, and they started doing virtual, and I just kind of wonder what happened to that.
I will get you information. I'll have Jackie or myself will send out information to the board
Okay.
on that tomorrow. I do know it is taking place.
Do we not attend as a district
I
anymore?
will get you, I know I attended last year, but I think it was myself and then our vocal music group from the high school. So I will get you that information, and we could definitely purchase a table as long as we can fill that table.
Yeah,
So
we used to be able to fill 2 or 3. So I will tell you, the first time I saw Detroit Youth Choir perform there before they were Detroit Youth Choir, before everybody knew who they were. So, but we used to be more present at things like that in our community, and I feel like we've kind of lost some of that. And I think it's our community, it's important for them to see us out at those events. All right, we will move on to, yes, yes.
Looking for presentations, we've had extreme interest in our therapy dog program. We've had over 60 million views on our news story that Ms. Burgess did.
Uh-huh.
And that would be, because a lot of school districts are asking us questions on that.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Maybe on the same, like, Yeah, I'll take it to my board because I know, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, and it's, you're seeing it now in the court, right? Like I just saw a news story where they're bringing therapy dogs into the courtroom now. It's a,
choose which dog.
yeah, exactly. All right, thank you. All right, moving on. Communications received by the board secretary, Mrs. Martin.
None, well, I received this bank statement, but I'm gonna give this to
You
Mike.
just give that to Mike. He waits with like anticipation for that.
Yes.
Not.
Yes.
I gave him mine already. He's like, oh, yeah. All right. Chief Financial Officer's Communications, Mr. Beltink.
Thank you. I'm going to switch the order up a little bit, and we'll jump to the PQ application. Mr. Gavin's been very patient.
Yes, you have. Bless your heart. You had to go through all that data. And
So our PQ application for the state of Michigan was recently approved, I believe, before we went on break,
No, just a little bit.
just a little after,
Yeah.
around that time. So we already voted on this once. I think there was one minor spelling change.
Yeah, there was a typo.
Yeah. Basically, what you reviewed before is the same application, and then we were officially granted our voting date of May 2025.
Yes.
Official.
And that's a resolution that's on your agenda for later. So ballot can go to the voters.
Yes. If you have any questions for Mr. Gavin? Anybody?
Yes, actually, we're down here talking about it. So like the the $44 million, I guess I don't really understand how it works. I guess it looks like we borrow this money, then we get it back. I mean, then how does it work?
So it's based off of our current property tax valuation, and we work with Baker Tilly, our financial analyst, on that. And so they know it's 2.5 mils of valuation based on the current property tax values within our district. Okay, so we borrow that money up front, and
So
because
who
we
we
know,
borrowing
yeah, we
from?
borrow up front, and then the taxpayers
probably Treasury.
pay their property taxes into the township. They collect it for us, and then we pay the bond off that way.
So am I correct that we borrow the money from Treasury?
No.
No.
So.
Okay,
there's
see?
School district bond issues, and what the district has done with the prior bond issues for this capital program has been that you do what's known as a competitive bond sale. So we work with Baker Tilly and put together a notice of sale that gets published nationally, and it gets put out there. And there are lots of bond investors out there that want to buy these bonds. So a bond underwriter will work with their investors and develop a proposal, and we get like a list of 6, 7 proposals to buy the bonds at certain interest rates. And that's
See?
So we're borrowing money from investors.
I think I might have known that.
So the benefit of the benefit of buying a municipal bond is that they're generally safe. They have the guarantee of the state.
Right.
And then the interest that you earn on it is tax-free. Those
So
are the two
if
big
I'm an
benefits.
investor and I buy municipal bonds, that's what I'm doing. If my 401k is buying municipal
There-
bonds.
It's a
See,
conservative.
now I know what my 401k does.
It is a conservative approach. It is conservative.
Yeah, I'm a
So-
conservative 401k girl, because.
Yes.
The treasury process that we're going through is a way of getting the state to guarantee
Yep.
payment on those bonds.
So the
Right,
state
they say we're
backs
good
the
for
bond.
it.
Yes.
So
It's
we
like
are
our
selling, we are
co-sign.
selling them on the open market,
Right.
but we have the backing of the state of Michigan.
Gotcha.
So, I'm sorry. So we get the money up front. We're getting all this money up front.
We would get
Yes.
so the
Payments.
bond, the 2021 bond that's wrapping up here shortly was sold, those bonds were sold in two different series in order for us to generate the $59 million that we received through that process. This bond proposal is set up to be a 3-series bond, so there would actually be an initial selling of some bonds, And then I think it's, I don't have all the dates, but the selling of the series of bonds are staggered so that we can ultimately generate the total of $44 million.
And then.
And that's because those projects the planned projects would be spread out really over the 2026 calendar year, all the way through the 2029 calendar year, which allows us to receive a third of that amount to use for the projects that are up first, and then get the second round of funds for the next round of projects, and then ultimately the third round of projects.
So with the three different, so is it like, would it be three different buyers or just?
It could be,
Yeah.
because they're all competitively bid at that, each series, each time you go to the series, it's competitively bid to determine.
Yeah. And it's, competitive bid is the best way to get the best interest rate. Like, there are other ways of selling and negotiating. So, this is the best bang for your buck for the interest rate.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the reason, again, if it's unclear, and we do have a new board member, Mrs. Johnson, the reason why we're targeting a May 2025 election is because we are still able to we have a unique opportunity in May 2025 to do this without an increase in property taxes. We'll be able to maintain the current property tax rate for schools by going out at this time.
Okay.
All right, and then the other item under my section is the 2024-2025 school, second semester school of choice recommendation. There is a graph in there that we put with a memo at the bottom. Grab the old one. So I tried to put this together in the best what do you want to say, visual application, so you could see it all in front of you. So this started out, before we went on break, I sent an email out to Ms. Nickel, Ms. Birch, and Ms. Peterson asking where they have room, where they don't have room, and then other issues within each grade level that may not want them to add any additional students at this time. They each identified those, and so we closed those classrooms off immediately, and they both identified kindergarten. So that was initially eliminated. And then from there, we looked, they gave me a great level of information. So we looked at each classroom by grade level and identified those classes where they may have said we could, but do we really want to? I tried to use a level of about 25 students on average per classroom per grade level, right? So some of these classes had 24, 25, 26 kids in it. I didn't think it was really fair to those grades and those other students to take any additional students at that level. At the end, it fortunately worked out that the classrooms in the schools that didn't have openings and the ones that did, it lined up where we could take 5 additional students roughly at each grade level, 1st through 6th grades at the elementary level. As a reference, we generally get maybe 12 to 15 new students in the second semester through school of choice typically. That's across all grade offerings. So I figured by offering 5 per class, that's pretty safe. If you were to get out of the 12, if half were in one grade, that would be pretty unusual, a pretty unusual anomaly there. So we feel that by offering an opening of 5 openings per grade level, that's more than adequate, and we really shouldn't have to turn any students away at this point. Additionally, the way the count works, It really doesn't have any impact on our funding this year. The spring count in 2025 will work towards our 2025 foundation allowance, and it only counts as 10% of that foundation allowance. So this has no impact on this year. It's an opportunity for us to get students in the second semester that hopefully are going to stick around with us for the next several school years through graduation, right? And typically what we see them in the early school years as well. So we are asking you to approve a limited school of choice and a contiguous at that, so it's Wayne County or any county touching Wayne County. Now, I will say 99% of our kids come from Wayne County, School District of Detroit. They're coming out of that way just because of our proximity. But we've typically in past have opened it to contiguous. We do get some students out of Southfield, for example. So we didn't want to really feel like closing it off at that point. So we will be asking for that later on in the resolution. Any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
I told him no. No, go ahead.
So when we do like these, sorry, when we do these particular open enrollments, when we select our students, are we looking at the grades prior to?
We don't select the students.
Okay, so they select us. So do we not?
If they apply, they get in.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the way the schools of choice process works.
Okay, no, I didn't know, like.
They provide us their transcripts from their previous school, they provide us behavioral reports from their previous school. If they have them, and many of them do, they provide us their IEPs. But sometimes the IEP part happens way after anyone would like. But yeah, when you offer schools of choice openings, there's a few reasons why you could exclude a student, but those items are very limited.
Because I guess the reason why I say, because it's like charter schools are more, it seems like.
Charter schools don't play by the same rules as everybody else. They just receive more per pupil funding than we do. And yes, that's my editorial comment for the day.
No, I didn't know that we was affected the same way. Thank you.
Yeah,
They don't abide by the same rules.
They can pretty much do whatever they want.
And in fact, what they do, truth be told, is they wait until they receive the fall count funding, and then they send students back to their home district. But don't tell anybody.
It's top secret. Shh. Okay. Moving on, Executive Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations Communications. Did Mrs. Knockman leave anything? I see she's not
No,
there.
she doesn't have anything this evening. She
Okay.
had some medical appointments to assist her husband with
Oh,
today.
Executive Director of Curriculum and Technology Communications. You used all your time. Denied. We love you, Ms. Crenshaw. Okay, so I'm going to lead this next part. This is future workshop topics, and this kind of goes back to my beginning comments about some things that we feel that are important to move forward with as a team. And this is going to become a standing agenda item because Mr. Witt doesn't know what we want to learn if we don't tell him, right? So the first one is, and I want us to have respectful, healthy conversation here, the timing of receipt of our board packet. So late Friday night is really too late. Now, some of the delay this week was me, right? Because I said, oh, by the way, I want to add these things to the agenda, right? So it was requested that board packets be submitted to the board for review 3 school days prior to a board meeting, which would be Wednesday. I know that's a lot. I know that's asking a lot. I'm going to advocate for, and we're willing to compromise, but not a lot. If we get these, I work every Saturday. I'm a retail manager. So if they get these on Friday at 5 o'clock, right? I'm at work on Saturday. I'm spending Sunday, which is my day of worship and my family day, reviewing a board packet. There are times that there is a lot of information in these packets that take some time to study. And so we need to have a conversation about what's acceptable and how early we should be getting it.
I would just like to suggest, and I mean, if ultimately the goal is to have motions taken tonight, that's, I guess, the will of the board. I thought that we were putting these topics on with the goal of having them included on the January 28th, I want to say, workshop agenda for further discussion and input by the board.
Okay,
So then,
I haven't worded-
potentially based on that discussion,
Right. That's why I didn't write the
so
motion
potentially
yet.
based on that discussion, we can, based on that discussion, if another formal resolution is needed, it could then be included on the February regular meeting, but it would also allow time for all of the board members and even some administrators to understand and have an opportunity in a more informal setting to discuss each of these topics and without like, I just want to say, I don't think that necessitates a resolution. If the goal is to have these included on a workshop agenda, I'm very happy to make sure that both of these topics are included on the agenda for the January 28th board workshop.
That makes sense.
Okay, so I'll just share the feedback that was given to me because I didn't originally include a motion on either of these items. And then the board member that had come to me originally expressed their concern about if we don't pass a motion, sometimes it feels like we ask for information and we struggle to get it. I
would encourage, first of all, I'd encourage a board member, any board member in that situation, to reach out to me to let me know that perhaps they're continuing to wait on information they haven't received.
Okay. So I have the motions. I didn't, like I said, when I spoke earlier, I did not put like details. I just added, we can word the motion to have these included in, are you okay with that?
So, I would ask, sorry, thank you. I would ask, do we want to possibly put a motion as relates to the board packet, or do we want to, as a board, to table it until study session on Thursday?
So we could,
Do a
when we
vote
go
for
to the
that?
motion, and we'll table the motion, then, is what we'll do.
Okay.
Okay, on both of these then. Okay, so then we will respectfully ask that both of these, the second one was a presentation on chronic absenteeism, which we all know is a problem. We're just curious as to how we as a district would like, what we do, what our supports are, how we're approaching the, we haven't had a presentation on that in a really long time. And we know the news story actually prompted those questions, right? Because we know that some of that absenteeism is because they don't have clean laundry and they're hungry and they're babysitting their younger siblings. So we're just kind of curious as to what supports we have as a district and what our steps are and at what point do we involve the prosecutor, which we also all know the prosecutor is busy and they have bigger issues in Wayne County, right? There are a lot of new board members here who haven't heard what our steps are. And so that's really all we're asking for there. Okay, so we'll table both of those when we get to them then.
So wait, this is what I wanted to see before. It's like, I guess I wanted to